King Ohja episode 11. I really enjoyed this episode. This episode had a lot going for it. It was funny, it was dramatic, it had some cool action pieces, but not only that, it's the start of a brand new arc and the introduction of our 6th Ranger. And although they didn't transform in this episode, we're introduced to the character Jeremy, who is known to be the narrator of the series, but not only that, he'll be Spider Kuminos moving forward. And I'm excited to see that sleek white suit in action next week in episode 12. But let's talk about episode 11 in today's review. So if you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. With that said, let's talk about some King Ohja. So, King Ohja episode 11, it opens up with the Bugnarok laughing about their evil plan and how it's going to succeed. What is that evil plan? Well, it was something that they did last week off screen that we didn't see until this week's episode. But Jeremy walks in with his iron mask, and apparently he's got some kind of relationship with the Bugnarok. He's known them for thousands of years, and it looks like he's been working with them. And I do wonder if the Bugnarok were the ones that put the spider mask on their face, because a lot of people in this episode, like Hat Guy, mistake him for a Bugnarok. So I do wonder what Jeremy's backstory is with the Bugnarok, and that's probably something we're going to have to find out next week or later down the line, with how he had that iron mask on his face in the first place. But the Bugnarok's plan, since I don't want to recap it near the end of the review, what they did is their monster of the week, when King Ohja, Legend King Ohja, was teleporting from town to town, the monster of the week implanted something in their foot, so when King Ohja was able to defeat the monster at the end of the episode, the legendary shoe gods basically exploded and went back to their amber state. So I feel like with that happening to the shoe gods and King Ohja sort of getting that D upgrade or getting that power down, that's going to make sure that we just use the main mech and not the shoe god form anymore moving forward, because Legend King Ohja was kind of broken in that episode where it was able to teleport from place to place at light speed. Not only that, it had some amazing fight power in it. So depowering King Ohja like that, so we only use like the main like 10 mecha instead of like the other ones, it makes sense if this is the move they're going for. Maybe we'll see the shoe gods come back later down the line once they get their form restored, but I feel like that's the move they were making to sort of like scale down the power that Legend King Ohja had in the show so it wouldn't one-shot like all the enemies moving forward. After that, we then cut to Dabowski and Racules talking, and Racules is under the suspicion that Gira might be alive, but Dabowski, being the good bullshit artist that he is, he says that through some miracle they were able to pilot King Ohja. So Dabowski does tell him, saying that we've got people who have found Gira's body, I believe he says, and we're going to bring it to you. And then after this is just the wackiest like couple of minutes in the show that I've seen in the longest time. So with a funeral being held for Gira where they're going to deliver his body, and the plan is to jump out of the coffin and surprise everyone by making King Ohja come down, it would basically reveal Racules as a fraud and he'd be stripped of his crown. And like I said, this next couple of minutes is where things get ridiculously funny and had me in stitches, mostly because they use the fantasy sound effect, the sort of transition fantasy sound effect. They like the but oh god, these next bits was killing me. So like Gira pitches like, or with the influences of the other, they put the idea in his head and they say, this is what you should do for your resurrection. Gira's idea is he comes back as a zombie, which got a laugh out of me. Frickin' Yama's idea is to come back as a robot called Gira Mark II. And then Himino's idea is come back but being like in this Jesus-like form by being resurrected by God. But just how ridiculous the outfits were that Gira was on in each of the fantasies was really crazy. Like the zombie one was really good, the robot one was so goofy, I loved it. And then in Himino's, when he's like meant to be this angel, he's like standing up on stilts and meant to be really tall. But it's just like this fantasy like flashback that they did, fantasy scene that they did for like everyone's reaction, like killed me. And I honestly thought we'd get one for everyone, including Rita, but Rita didn't give one, which is kind of a shame. But Rita did have a funny moment where Rita says, why are we lying? And Himino says, lying is sometimes part of stories, which is part of fiction, and sometimes fiction and stories is a good thing for children because it gives them hope and stuff like that. Kind of, sort of, I'm twisting it, but it does lead into the next joke where Himeno says, in my country, there's a was it Mofufin? The Big Yeti anime. And Rita's like, I have not seen that. And Rita just storms out and talks to their little plushie and says, no spoilers, which gotta laugh out of me. So the next half of the episode is quite the interesting half. They go ahead with Operation Gira unboxing out of the coffin, but things don't go according to plan. But the build up towards it, there was some funny moments leading up to Jeremy's debut and his, well, not debut, but Jeremy showing up at the funeral. And I did like the sort of banter that Yama had where Hercules was giving his big speech and Yama was like, you're so loud you could wake the dead, wink, wink. And that was Gira's cue to come out. But Gira couldn't come out because there was some pretty strong spider web threads over the coffin. So this leads to Jeremy's debut, and Jeremy makes his big debut. Well, I say debut. He makes his grand appearance at the funeral, and people are kind of freaked out by him. Not only that, he gets mistaken for a Bugnarok because of the mask, which I am under speculation that the Bugnarok were probably the ones who gave him the mask, especially the quote that the Defnarok says at the end of the episode, where he says, have you been planning this for 100, no 1,000 years? So Jeremy kidnaps Gira, frees him, and he gives this big speech talking about mystery and dung and poo and stuff like that. And even I'm confused. Even I'm asking what Gira's asking, saying, why do you like talking about poo so much? But then Jeremy says, the Bugnarok might not be your actual enemy. Your actual enemy might be up there, but we can't see what he's actually pointing at, which a lot of people are speculating it might be the moon or another distant planet where there's an alien force out there, but whatever he's pointing at is sort of interrupted by the Bugnarok as they're in the way. And like I said, the Bugnarok was able to split up King Oja from what they did last week. But seeing Jeremy in this episode, how he's based on a spider, he does have some Spider-Man traits to him where he's able to web sling around, although it's not like actual Spider-Man web slinging. He's sort of like using it to sort of grapple around and swing around, not like the actual whipping from side to side. So that's a really cool visual where he sort of uses it as sort of like a hook shot and sort of parkours around the buildings, which is a really cool visual to see in the show. But yeah, Jeremy had this grand plan where he steals the ambers from the Bugnarok, where their grand plan was ruined, and he's able to use the ambers to create a key for himself, removing the mask and revealing his face, which angers the Bugnarok leader, Defnarok, where he says, was this your plan all along? And then he takes out his bug spray and goes bang. And then he also says fake. So I get the feeling that the leader of the Bugnarok isn't dead because they both disappear at the end of the episode, being that big mystery. So King Oja episode 11 was quite the interesting one. I got a kick out of it. Some really funny moments. The introduction of our Sixth Ranger was a pretty strong introduction episode, I gotta say. He's probably gonna join the others. You never know. It looks like he might be joining the others from next week's preview. But his whole backstory and his whole mystery is something. And I do wonder where they're gonna go with it moving forward. Like, he must have some ties to the Bugnarok if they're the ones that put on the mask. But not only that, he's the narrator of the show, and he's been the narrator for the longest time because he's like a old folktale or an old storyteller, as he calls himself. And I'm just curious to see where the show's going to go moving forward and what this next arc is going to do now that Jeremy has been introduced. But it makes me wonder, if Jeremy was able to get away with the coffin, does that mean they think that Gira is still dead because no one technically found the body apart from... Well, no one found the body. The people that came rushing the Gira's aid was the other King Ojas. So I'm wondering how long is Hercules and the others going to be fooled that Gira is dead, and when will he make this big debut that he's alive the whole time? Hercules is smart. They do say that in the start of the episode, Hercules is catching on to what's going on, so he's probably doing some big brain plan later down the line, but overall I had a lot of fun with this episode and I definitely got a kick out of it. What did you guys think of King Oja episode 11, and are you liking Jeremy so far? Tell me in the comment section down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. With that said, I'm going to bring this video to a close. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll see you guys later. Peace out, take care, bye.